Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Marilyn. In this edition, I'm in conversation with the head, People and Culture, Global Talent Center at Ascension, Ms. Brichita Prashant. She's a dynamic leader driving bold transformations in talent and culture. With over 20 years of experience in shaping high impact people strategies across global organizations, Brigitta is a force in the HR and leadership space. From driving large scale transformations to humanizing the workplace, she brings a rare blend of strategic foresight, operational excellence, and people first leadership. Today, we tap into her deep expertise on what it truly takes to build thriving, future ready organizations. Thank you so much, Ms. Brigita, for taking out time for us and having this conversation today. How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful, and thank you, Marilyn, for having me on this call.
It's an absolute pleasure, ma'am, to have you with us in this edition. So, to begin with, we want to know that as you're in the position, you're the head of talent and management, right? You're the head in Ascension, and I would like to start the conversation by getting a few insights from your end that how you chose this journey and what inspired you to to lead this journey so far, being in the HR industry.
Very tough one. I think HR was not a choice when I started my journey. In fact, it was the most easiest of all, is what I felt at that stage when I, chose HR as my subject of specialization during my MBA. But as I stepped into the corporate world and I started navigating the whole journey, I realized that people is not an easy subject. It is really the most difficult one. But I think early in my days, one of the mentors said, if you keep fairness at the core of every action or every decision that you take, I think you would be able to navigate this journey better. And bringing that whole shift and change and transformation in organizations and workplaces for people and business together was one of the biggest drive for me. And I think that kept me on in this journey, Madeline.
Wonderful, Ms. Brigitta. What an inspiring journey that is. And of course, as you said, you're not from this background, right? But
Yeah.
you came to this thing, and definitely you're leading the way you're leading. It's really wonderful. And so I would like to begin with the question that, to start with the conversation as so, what's one leadership lesson you wish you learned earlier?
Wow, it's difficult to narrow down on one because I believe there were so many leadership lessons I wish I had known earlier. But let me say the one that tops my chart is the one where I wish I knew, that clarity is much more powerful than control. So earlier in my days, in my early career, I used to always equate, control with effectiveness. I always believed that if I closely manage every detail, I think I would ensure fabulous results. But when I stepped into the HR head role at Ascendion, I think I really reshaped that belief for myself. I discovered that when leaders focus on, providing clarity, direction, or you say purpose, and then let the trust, their teams to deliver, I think that is what unlocks the ownership, agility, and innovation in people. So letting go of control allowed the space, for the initiatives and accountability to thrive. And that is the biggest lesson that I wish I had known earlier, and it would have made all the difference for me.
And what's one invisible force that shapes the great culture which you believe?
I hope you've heard of psychological safety. I believe you will resonate with that. I think the most underrated forces that quietly shapes the soul of any organization, I believe, when people feel, safe to speak up or let's say without a fear of judgment, ridicule, I think magic happens then. And I think trust deepens only when they feel safe in an environment. So I think I've witnessed this firsthand, that the most quietest of the team members who once hesitated to voice their thoughts became the most bold contributors and change makers when they realized their ideas would be respected and not rejected. That shift doesn't require big budgets, actually, just intentional leadership, I would say.
Of course, that is what, and they are the ones who are the hidden gems, right? And once they get that comfort space, I believe that they come out really well. They
Right.
open up really well, and they can do truly wonders, right, in this space. And who outside your work, outside the work, shape your leadership the most? Like it can be anyone not from your profession, or it can be outside work, anyone from your family, anyone from your relative, friends, anyone.
I think it's hands down my mother. I think she's the one who have literally been inspiring me the each step of the way. Let me say that she never had that privilege of formal education. Let me say not higher education. She did pass her 10th grade, but she taught me one of the life's most powerful leadership lesson, and that was showing up every single day, no matter what. Okay, I have watched her navigate complex family dynamics with so much of patience, so much of strength, and unshakable sense of fairness. She led without any titles or recognition, right? Nobody gives a mother, a housewife, any sort of recognition or titles. But with immense emotional intelligence, I think I saw her navigating every damn problem that she faced. And from her, I learned that true leadership is not loud. It's being the steady anchor in chaos, the one who holds space when things fall apart. So I think it's my mom, hands down.
Absolutely wonderful. And who would be, the true and a beautiful example of being a leader? Like mothers are the ones, before any certifications, before any tag, they are the ones who are, leading our life in a true manner. And
Yeah.
hats off to all our mothers for being a true leader. And that's what you have shared that example. And your mother is the one who has shaped your leadership journey. So hats off to her for this. Next question, Ms. Prashita, would be what helps you stay grounded when leadership feels heavy?
Good question, Madeline. I think I would not hesitate from saying that leadership is lonely at times. The higher you go, the more you are required to maintain distance because familiarity can sometimes dilute respect. And most often, I've seen that people lean on to your position more for the favors than feedback. So, what keeps me centered is a habit which is journaling and honest, and sometimes the honest and raw conversations with my daughters. I think their unfiltered love and perspective remind me that I'm not just a title, I'm more than that. I'm their mother, a woman that has her own story, her own scars, and her own strength. And when the weight gets too much, I go back to my why because I think I revisit the tough battles I have already fought personally and professionally. And they remind me that I've walked through fire before and I'm still standing. So it helps me go further, no matter whatever is the type of complexity of the problem that I'm facing.
So this journey started from your mother, and you being a mother, you're passing this thing to your children, and that is how a natural leadership journey is, begins, and it goes on and on. That's what is the power of women, I feel. And so I just wanted, have this continued question related to this. So I would like to know what you like to do in your free time. Like, what are your hobbies, if I must say?
Earlier, I think when I was not in such a great leadership positions and somewhere in my middle management career, I had more time. I would be honest about it. And those days, I think dancing was one of my favorite hobby. And the other thing, which I still feel is one of the reasons why I could develop these leadership traits way early was the self-development habit. So I would always pick up a subject which I always felt was either a roadblock for me or probably a thing that I would like to kind of conquer and maybe able to coach others. I would always go and invest time on that. So most of the time, if I have to say, even this was a hobby, and people used to say, why would you read so much? Why would you indulge in? I used to be very, very interested in, my own self transformation, because I always felt that there is only so much time, and if you waste that time, you would be like, left behind. So
Right.
in that need and urge to be ahead of the curve, I would always spend time, doing some sort of self development.
Amazing. And with the challenging world and with so much change around, this is how you can be ahead of the crew and with ahead of the people professionally
Right.
and personally as well. So
Yeah.
absolutely wonderful. And would like to know which book has changed the way you lead.
In fact, I would like to talk about two books because there's been a very, very high impact of these books on my
Mm.
overall professional and personal journey. So one is
Mhm.
this book, if you've heard of it, Dare to Lead. This is by
Mhm.
Brené Brown. And
Mhm.
the other one is the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I'm sure the second one is much more popular than the Dare to Lead.
Mhm.
But let me put it this way, the Dare to Lead was one which helped me, reframe vulnerability as a leadership strength. So always I used to feel that, being vulnerable is being weak. But this book transformed that thought into me. And I could literally see that if I can share openly, like, be authentic, especially through my conversations during the tough ones, something which I even use every day as a leader. It was amazing learning that vulnerability and authenticity in tough
Mhm.
conversations will probably be the best tools to gain the trust that you need. And Seven Habits, let me put it this way, this was a book that I read way back in my MBA days, and I kept reading it because maybe at the time when I read that first time, from the time that I really read it the last time, I think multiple readings helped me gain multiple side of inferences from it. But the
Mhm.
first real introduction to the leadership thinking was this book, and I would say it taught me the power of being proactive,
Mhm.
having a proactive behavior, having deep listening as an attribute, and aligning my action to my values. Okay, and I still go back to begin with the end in mind. That is the most powerful lesson that I learned from it. Whenever I reset my leadership compass, I think I always go back and say begin with the end in mind, and that helps me navigate a lot of things
Mhm.
much more effectively.
So I'm sure the two books which you have mentioned, most of us might have and might not. They will go back and they will check these books and they will take interest as well, whichever you have told, and they will try to read that as well. So thank you for letting us know about this insights. And what's one HR myth you would like to burst, which you have been hearing a lot about HR? So which is that one or two or three, or whichever you want to let us know.
Myth, HR myth.
Yes, yes.
I think a lot of people, including employees or even sometimes leaders, I've seen they
Mhm.
believe that HR is only here for the employees.
Mhm.
I mean, every time they look at it and say, okay, why is HR not doing things which is only favorable to the employees? So I think I would like to bust that myth that HR is only there for the employees. It's a partial truth, and I
Mhm.
think a very limiting one. The real myth is that HR is soft and one sided, but in reality, HR exists for both people and performance. I think great HRs doesn't exist, or they just don't advocate for the employees, but rather they would align their talent strategy with business outcomes. And I would say we don't choose between empathy and execution. We build cultures where both empathy and execution thrives, right?
Mhm.
Whether it is shaping leadership pipelines, or you talk about architecting the engagement strategies, or navigating the organization designs, I think HR's superpower is connecting human insights to business foresight, right? That's the real impact that we HR bring. So I think that's one myth I would definitely love to bust in everybody's mind.
So, what value you will never compromise on and why?
One value that I would never like to compromise would be, I think, integrity, and that will be the always
Mhm.
one value that I would never like to compromise, because I think I've learned this. There have been multiple moments in my career where, especially during, let's say, tough exits, sensitive restructures that we have done, or let's say policy transitions, where taking the easier or more politically convenient path was right there for me. But I've learned that integrity isn't when things are going well. It is tested when the stakes are really very high, and silence could be more simpler. But choosing fairness over comfort has all sometimes made the conversations harder, and let's say the outcomes are even more slower. But it also built what you call the lasting credibility with my leaders, with my team, with my peers, and even with my own self. So, because once trust is broken, no title or talent can rebuild it in the same way. And I would rather lose a battle than losing the respect of our people and who count on me for doing what's right. So, integrity is one thing which I would never compromise on.
So the last section would be this and that. It would be a kind of a rapid fire session, and it would be a
Okay.
fun thing as well. So to begin with this section, my first question would be culture fit or culture add?
Wow, nice. Culture ad anytime.
Annual reviews or real time feedback?
Real time feedback.
Lead with logic or lead with heart?
Always art, logic, structures, heart inspires.
Silent strength or vocal charisma?
Silent strength anytime.
Gut instinct or data driven?
I would say gut powered by data.
Wow, amazing. Recognition in public or private praise?
Actually, difficult, depends on person. I think what matters here is sincerity. Recognize sincerely.
Work life balance or work life blend?
It's a blend. Life and work are intertwined. So it's a blend.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brigitta, and really had a lovely session with you today. And thank you for taking out your precious time and having this conversation with us. Thank you for being such a bold leader and always inspiring others. Thank you so much, Ms. Brigitta, and I would really wish you a lovely day ahead and wish you
Thank you so much,
also
Marilyn.
to have a successful professional journey the way you are leading, and of course whatever the key takeaways you have taken from program, definitely I wish that you would be putting those insights in your professional journey ahead as well. It will be really helpful.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me here, Marilyn.
Thank
It
you
was
so much,
interesting.
ma'am.
It
Thank
was
you
a
so
great
much. Have a
interaction with
lovely
you.
same here.
Wish
Thank
you
you
the
so much.
same.